Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Dos Leprechauns podcast. I am Leprechaun Jason.
I'm Leprechaun Nate.
And we have a great jam-packed show for you today. We have several interviews that we're going to be doing. We also have a really exciting contest, actually several contests we're going to be talking about thanks to some of our sponsors. If you notice in our background here, Nate, you want to show them our new banner here? We have our sponsors now on our new banner ready to go. We have Legends and Goats, Sports Crack, TNNDN, and Golden Domer Daily. So we have our new banner thanks to our sponsors. It's not possible without you guys. We really appreciate all the support. So this morning we're going to have 3 different interviews, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the first 3 games. Nate has some thoughts on it. I have some thoughts on it. And if you guys want to participate in the show, please do so by commenting on the feed below and participate. That's what makes it so beneficial for us, is for you guys to kind of give us your thoughts. Let us know if you have questions for some of our guests that we'll have on. So this morning we have former Notre Dame linebacker Mike Goolsby, who will be on. He'll be followed by Kevin Sinclair, who is a recruiting analyst with Irish Illustrated. And then we'll finish this show off this morning with an interview with George Bushura, who's actually one of our Dos Leprechauns admin, and is going to be writing a book that will actually encourage fan involvement. So we really hope that you'll enjoy that interview and be able to become a part of that as well. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. It looks like the feed is a little shaky. What's going on? Okay, well, we'll keep going. I apologize for the technical difficulties we're having this morning. So we're going to get right into our phone conversation with Mike Goolsby. Nate, why don't you go ahead and get Goolsby on the line? So as we do that, also we're going to talk. You'll see in front of us here we have a autographed helmet, and you'll notice that helmet is actually autographed by Paul Hornung, none other than Paul Hornung, Heisman Trophy winner. Let's turn up the volume. And we'll talk about how you can win that here a little bit later in the show.
This is Mike.
Hey, good morning, Mike. This is Jason Hendricks and Nathan with the Dos Leprechauns podcast. How are you this morning?
What's up, fellas?
Not much. We're doing good. Just had a great time watching the game last night, and now we're doing our podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the game, obviously, but very excited to have you on. Joining us this morning, Mike Goolsby, former linebacker for Notre Dame. Mike, just wanted to talk a little bit about your time at Notre Dame, what made it special to you, and we always kind of start off by asking our guests, what made you select Notre Dame? What was your recruiting like? What were some of the schools that were after you, and then what made you finally decide that Notre Dame was the place that you wanted to have your college career?
Yeah, gosh, man, it was forever ago. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day, though. I was like a lot of us that wind up at Notre Dame, I was super heavily recruited. I was a little bit, as was my family, my parents and I, kind of taken aback by the attention. And I guess, you really didn't realize that you were that good. But with that, I had 30-something offers. Only visited a handful of schools, but it was, honestly, guys, it was like when Notre Dame came into the fold, I knew I was going there. And it was the right mix of, it was a good fit overall, personality-wise, with the coaching staff, the location. It was only a couple hours from home. The tradition, it's just when people ask me that question, I guess, just to sum it up, I usually just say it's a tough school to turn down, and that's really what it is. It's a tough school to turn down.
Yeah, I bet. Now, what were some of the other schools that were in contention for you to possibly go and play there?
I mean, nobody really, if I'm being honest with you. But I looked at like Michigan State. This is back when Saban was there. I looked at South Carolina, and that was when Lou Holtz was there. And the only reason I was interested in Lou Holtz was because of the whole Notre Dame thing,
Right.
And then I looked at Michigan a little bit, but like I said, guys, it was Notre Dame would have had to have screwed something up for me to have not been there.
So who was really involved in your recruiting from Notre Dame? Was it Coach Willingham? Was it one of the assistant coaches?
No, so this is back to when Davey is the guy that actually recruited me.
Oh, okay.
But it was Greg Madison, who literally I just texted last night. He's at Michigan now. Coach Madison's a hell of a recruiter. He had my mom and dad wrapped around his finger. He did a fantastic job. But yeah, that's who really handled my recruitment specifically.
Okay, very cool.
What was your favorite on the field moment while you were at Notre Dame?
On the field, there's a couple of them. The first one that really jumps out at me was, I think I was, and this is technically on the field, right? But we had a big pep rally before the Nebraska game my freshman year. And there were so many people that wanted to attend the pep rally, they held it in the stadium, right? So us as players were on the field in our chairs. And Tony Driver, who was just a badass safety, just a badass human being.
Yeah.
Great football player. He gets up to do, his speech for the pep rally, and he walks up there, kind of saunters up to the microphone and just says, kind of looks up at the crowd and he goes, "Y'all ready to go to war?" And then that was it. That was all he said. And then we just left and got in the buses. And that was pretty, I was like, that was sort of my, welcome to college football kind of moment. It's just, you kind of get goosebumps thinking about it, But then, I had a couple big plays myself. Like, people tend to remember, I had that pick at Tennessee for a touchdown, which is a great, very cool thing because I had that game circled on my calendar for years just because I knew what kind of an environment going to play at Tennessee was like. So lots of good memories. Those are a couple that really jump out at me off the top of my head.
So I recall as a junior, you were an absolute tackling machine. I mean, I think you had over 70 tackles. A lot of them were solo. Was there something specific about that defense that allowed you to be as active as you were, or you always had a nose for the ball and it just kind of worked out that way?
Yeah, my junior year, man, I was just crazy athletic. I was a little lighter than I was as a senior. I mean, I was probably 228, something like that. And I had great speed and great flexibility. To be honest with you, as far as the scheme or the defense goes, I was still learning. I mean, if it wasn't for guys like Derek Curry, who I played alongside, and Courtney Watson getting me lined up half the time, I wouldn't even have known what I was doing. But there was plays. There was a couple times where I bit so hard on play action that I wound up getting a sack. I just kept going.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe the best answer I could give you is we were so good on defense, and there's a ton of senior leadership that it allowed me to sometimes just be super aggressive and either make an aggressive mistake, or make an aggressive mistake and get lucky and wind up with a tackle for loss, something like that.
Very cool. So go ahead, Nick.
So how did it feel to get that interception against USC?
It was really something, man. The pick at USC against Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
It was cool. I mean, playing in the Coliseum is a great place. I mean, my takeaway from that is I watched the game back on the the live broadcast or whatever, the ABC broadcast version, and Keith Jackson said his grandmother could have caught that ball. It's funny when you recant these stories and you sort of stir up these memories from 15 years ago. It's funny what you remember now versus at the time. But yeah, that was a great play. I think that was my very first collegiate interception.
Sorry for the interruption there. For some reason, our phone's going off right now. Okay, well, so on that pick against, grab the iPad. On the iPad. On the pick against USC, did you talk to Carson Palmer at all about that at the end? I mean, the iPad. Did you talk to him after the game or anything? Did he say, "Hey, good job, kid," or anything like that, or was he still kind of heated about it?
No. Well, yeah, I didn't. I'll wait for the phone to stop ringing.
Okay, sorry. It's not his phone either. We're having some major technical difficulties here.
I don't even think... Is the live video playing? It's
Excuse us one second.
I think you played music on it.
No. Where's it coming from? Okay, well that was embarrassing. Sorry about that, Mike.
Sorry, you're fine. Something happened.
Can you grab us the iPad, please? Get it, Nate. Go get the iPad. Okay, so we're gonna. Anyway, so yeah, the question was, as far as the USC game goes, when you got that interception after the game, did you have a chance to talk to Carson at all about that?
No, I mean, a couple things. I mean, Carson Palmer was like sort of like I think he won the Heisman Trophy, I believe, that year.
Yeah.
So no, I mean after a game like that, I mean he's going to get swept away and have to do media, etc. But the other thing too, like when I played, and it was the difference between college and the NFL, right? Like so in college, like I genuinely didn't like the team that I was playing against, you know, like so I didn't care to talk to people after the game, you know, especially if we got kicked. So I didn't want to talk to anybody.
That's totally understandable, and I think that mentality has been lost a little bit, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think that sometimes nowadays people are wanting to really get into, you know, hey, we want to go out after the game and be friends and be buddies, but like Tony Driver said at that pep rally, you know, you're going to war, and I know that's a term that some people don't like when it comes to sports, but I mean that's really the difference in the mentality, I think, in nowadays versus back in the day.
Well, yeah, and I think that's born out of, you know, so many of these high-profile recruits. They go on recruiting trips together. You know, you make friends. You know, in a lot of these, and like they go to these all-star games, these Nike combine things, and you know, they're friends on social media and such. I mean, I understand it, but maybe I'm just old school in that way. But no, I mean, like USC, Boston College, Purdue, like I hated those schools. Like, you know. Like so, even like I'm 35 years old, I'll meet somebody that went to Purdue and like I automatically don't like them.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Now speaking of Boston College, did you watch the game last night?
I watched a little bit of it.
Okay.
I was kind of running around, but
overall, what have you thought about the team thus far?
Well, the only thing, when Brian Kelly came on board, first of all, I'm a big fan of what Brian Kelly's done with the program, sort of bringing Notre Dame into like the new age of college football, like the Jumbotron, you know, all these little things like dressing up the stadium, all these things that he does, and it's great from a recruiting aspect. So I'm very thankful for what Brian Kelly has brought into the program, kind of infused some life into it. But with that, I still don't like Notre Dame's defense. It's like this weird hybrid 3-4 thing that I just don't think works in college. Because you just don't have the bodies. Like, you don't have 270-pound outside linebackers. You don't have a 350-pound nose tackle. I mean, you did at one point with Lewis Nix.
Right.
And we were good that year, right? Because you had the body types. But I don't like the defense. And then just the scheme overall, I don't like the defense. And then, two, I hate, like, great, Brandon Wimbush had 200 yards rushing. Fantastic. But, like, you know he's going to get dinged up. You know, like
yeah.
You can't run a quarterback 15 times and not expect him to get hurt. And I mean, if you look back, several of Kelly's quarterbacks have gotten dinged up, and it's too important of a position. And I understand that that's your offense, but like, I mean, maybe sprinkle in 5 quarterback design runs, but it shouldn't be a pillar of your offense. That's just my opinion.
So you mentioned earlier before those are all great points, but you also mentioned before that you're a fan of Brian Kelly and some of the things that he's infused into the program. I ask all our guests this question. I know it's kind of the elephant in the room, but do you still think that he's the guy? Do you think that we're still moving in the right direction with Brian Kelly as the head coach?
I do. I mean, well, I do, but in the same breath, not a lot of people want to come coach at Notre Dame, man.
That's right.
Because it's, I mean, again, you do have the academic standards. You do have somewhat of a, and I'm going to say delusional, but semi-delusional fan base in that they don't get it.
I'll give you that.
Like, listen, I was a parade All-American or whatever, right? I could have went to any school in the country I wanted to, anywhere. And my high school, which is a, prep school, Catholic, private school, they only required 3 years of math, okay, to graduate. So I was never any good at math. So I took my 3 years, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm done with math as far as high school is concerned. I go visit Notre Dame, And Coach Madison, I was wearing a T-shirt. You know, he sends me back to my car to put on like a collared shirt because I'm meeting with the admissions advisor, Dan Saraceno. This is a long story, but Dan Saraceno looks over my test scores, looks at my what's the word?
SAT
looks at my
and all
grades.
that.
You know, my curriculum or whatever, what I had taken up to that point, and he tells me, I want you to go back and take another year of math. Okay, so I wanted to go to Notre Dame, so I went back and I took a fourth year of math in high school. But 99.9% of college or high school kids going into college, these big shot recruits, are going to say, to hell with that, I'm going to Miami or I'm going to Florida State or whatever. So that's what Brian Kelly has to deal with. And again, the pressure from the alumni, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you take everything into consideration. I like him as our coach. I'm sure he's not Nick Saban, he's not Urban Meyer, but I mean, there's a handful of coaches out there that are just world-class coaches. Brian Kelly he's fine. And unless Urban Meyer came out and said, I want to go coach at Notre Dame, let's go get Urban Meyer. But if that's not the case, we'll stick with what we've got.
Right. So Shane, and along those same lines, Shane Scarlett, one of our listeners, mentioned that he thinks Kelly's a great coach, but we seem to have a problem winning big games, and the other games we roll over them. Can we explain that? And I think to kind of echo Shane's question, we're beating the Boston colleges by 29, Temple by 23 or 26, whatever it was, might have been more. But then we lose to Georgia by 1. Now, I will say this. I think Georgia's going to win the SEC South. But at the same time, when are we going to get that big name, that big win against a top 10, top 15 even team? What do you think it is that's lacking in that department?
I don't know.
I hear you.
I don't know. I mean, see, I look at it and I sit there and go, and I know this stuff, right? I mean, I've been around this stuff. I know kids that still play. I used to train a handful of kids. And kids in college, like kids at Georgia, I'm telling you, they don't go to class.
No.
They don't do shit. So it's like, maybe, what is it going to take that week? Maybe the week of the Georgia game, maybe our football team doesn't go to class and they get the extra 3 hours of sleep, or maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's what it's going to take. But it's just. But see, I look at it, having been in that environment and played in those big games and whatever. I'm like, shit, we lost to Georgia by 1. That's awesome.
Right.
I mean, they played their butts off. They didn't embarrass themselves. I mean, watch the games, guys. I mean, you can watch Clemson, Louisville, who was playing last night, like LSU, Mississippi State. Like, those kids are flying around, dude. Like,
right.
It's insane. These kids are so athletic. They're so lean. And it's just the level that those guys are playing at, and that's all. And all they do is all ball. It's all ball. There's no class. There's no other requirements. There's no drug testing. I mean, it's a whole other world that kids at Notre Dame, they're living a different college existence as a player versus most schools.
Absolutely, and you said earlier, and I think it's a really good point, in that our fan base in certain cases can be a little bit and a lot of it delusional, and I think that we should be proud of the athletes that do go to Notre Dame, because they are going to class. They do have the rigors of one of the toughest academic schools around, in addition to playing in sometimes in the unfavorable weather conditions and things like that. So it's one of those things where beggars can't be choosers, in my opinion. And I think we have the talent and the coaches in place now to really do some things. And I think the Georgia game, if anything, was a good barometer of where we're at. Because, again, like you said, we lost by 1. It was at home, but let's be honest, that wasn't a home environment. So we can hang with the big dogs. I think it's just going to take a little bit to get us over that hump. I think we'll probably go into USC at a 5-1 clip. So I'm really excited to see. 4-1. Really excited to see how they come out and face one of the top teams in the nation in South Bend in October 21st. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I still don't think, a couple things, but I don't think that, how do I say this? When people think about USC football, they still sort of like harken back to the Reggie Bush, Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, like just that dominant program that they were for that, 3, 4, 5 year run. USC today isn't that. Okay, so I think USC gets propped up a little bit based off of who they used to be.
Sure.
So don't be surprised if we go out there and beat a USC. I don't think USC has SEC athletes. I really don't. And I think they're West Coast kids, and I think they're a little bit softer than some of those SEC kids are. That's just my opinion. And then the other thing about Notre Dame is, and this is what I try and tell people in my day-to-day life, when people at work or whatever, they find out you go to Notre Dame. For whatever reason, people don't like Notre Dame. And I think they think that we're kind of holier than thou. We're sort of, hoity-toity, whatever. Like, we think we're better than other people. And I sort of get that impression because Notre Dame has kind of created that. But Notre Dame, though, like, I grew up watching, like, Lou Holtz in the 80s. It was super blue collar, right? And now it's more fancy. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure, definitely.
It's fancier. And it's fancier, and Notre Dame sells that as opposed to, that kind of gritty blue collar approach that Lou Holtz had. Now, when I tell people, I say, why wouldn't you root for a school like Notre Dame? Because they take kids, they make them better human beings. No matter what, man. I mean, believe me, I played with kids that came to Notre Dame that were from the South, that weren't from the best backgrounds or whatever, and they left, and they're probably making, close to six figures now, selling insurance or doing whatever. And there's no fucking way that would have happened had they went to Florida State or had they went to a Tennessee or whatever. Those schools, the kids are trying to use the school as a platform to get to the league. So the kids try to use the school as you basically use the school to get me to the league, and then the school sells, or the football program sells that dream to the kid. So they're using one another. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, that needs to be said.
And 50% of the kids don't graduate, and then what do they end up doing? Going back and coaching high school football or something?
Yep.
I don't know what they do.
Yeah, no, you're
So I say to an Ohio State fan, like, what are you actually rooting for?
Right. Yeah, no. They're rooting for a college team because they don't. I mean, that's all they have to do in their lives. Apparently, I don't know, but yeah.
Well, but I'm saying, it's like the school exploits this. Kid's trying to exploit the school, and the school's exploiting the kid. And when it doesn't work out for 80% of the kids in the team, as far as the NFL is concerned, what are they left with?
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
And that's what you're rooting for. So if Notre Dame never wins another national championship again, you're putting quality people into the world. Having gone through that football program, and they're better off for it. And I mean, that's literally what I mean. If I'm at a bar watching a game or whatever, and it's just like, I don't understand how you couldn't root for a Stanford or root for a Notre Dame or whatever. I mean, so anyways.
It's funny what you just said. I think that it's great to hear the fire, because I think a lot of people forget that these student athletes are people first. They're not pro athletes, they're not getting paid. They're going to school, they're doing what they got to do, and at the end of the day, 1% make it to the NFL, if that. So these are student athletes who hopefully we hope will, all the kids that I've met at Notre Dame, all the men that I've met at Notre Dame have all been super down to earth, super humble, and just such great people. Followed a lot of their careers afterwards, NFL or not, and they're all just phenomenal people, really making a difference in the world, and that's why we like to have you guys on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably always have been. I still am. I'm a little bit more rough around the edges than most.
That's all right. That's a good thing.
But, yeah, that's who I am. But.
So speaking of all that, this kind of leads us to our last question that we like to ask all of our guests, and it's kind of a twofold question. One is, what have you been up to since your career ended at Notre Dame? And secondly, is there anything that you'd like to tell our viewers and listeners about that you're up to? Anything you'd like them to support, promote, anything like that? This is your time to do that now.
Oh yeah. So I got, I went to the league for a couple of years, tried to bounce around a little bit, and then I got out and I just got into sales, right? So I work as a dental sales rep. I sell, whatever you see in your dentist's office, I sell it. It's a great gig. For a time there, I had like a little private training outfit where I would do like individual one-on-one coaching. My career has kind of taken me around. I've moved quite a bit. I'm currently in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm actually going to, at the end of this high school football season, get back into the training piece too. And it's just a little side project that I just really enjoy working with kids. And most high school kids, they don't get the level of coaching. I mean, they do the running and they do the lifting, but they don't understand, the game itself. So I will probably be getting back into that. But no, as far as anything, I'm looking to pitch or promote. No, I'm a simple guy. But yeah.
Okay.
Dental, yeah.
Where can people follow you at? Do you have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
Nah, I mean I do, but it's this. I I think social media is a little bit weird in that I don't want people I don't know like looking at my life. So
makes sense.
I'm not a big. I appreciate you asking, but no, I don't really have much of a social media presence.
Okay, well, hey, that's cool. I completely understand that, and I can respect that. So, okay, Mike. Well, we really appreciate the time this morning. It's been a lot of fun catching up with you as a guy who really watched your career as a kid. Well, not really a kid. I guess it was 22 at that point, but watched you play. You know, in the 2002, 2003 time frame. It's great to get you on the phone and talk to you a little bit. I always loved your fire. I can tell that it's translated into your your post-college football life, so appreciate the time and hope you have a great week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Have a good day. Go Irish.
Bye-bye.
All right, cool. So that was Mike Goolsby, former linebacker for Notre Dame. Pretty fun interview. I loved his he definitely didn't shy away from some of the tough questions, so it's cool to have him on. We have a couple people calling in, so we're going to get to kind of the recap piece here, so we'll call a couple people back that have called during the last interview. Let's see who that was. Not now. Go ahead and call that. Okay, go ahead and answer it. This is the Leprechauns.
Hey, it's Bill Norberg.
Hey, what's up, Bill? How you doing, man?
Good, man. What's up?
So, yeah, we got Bill Norberg on the phone. He lives in South Bend, a longtime Irish fan, actually a graduate of Notre Dame. Bill, we're getting a little bit of feedback, I think, on your end on the show.
Yeah, I've got to turn off your podcast for a second. Hold on. Go mute this thing. All right. So we got Bill Norberg on, graduate of Notre Dame, outspoken fan, but also very knowledgeable fan, has a lot of insight into the program and being a follower of the program for probably over 30 years, 40 years maybe even. So, Bill, where are you at with things right now? I know you're very outspoken about Coach Kelly, but I've also seen this year through some of your posts that it seems like you're pretty positive in terms of where things are headed. So what's your take right now 3 games in? 3 games in, I think we're seeing a team that is improving in different phases at different rates. In the first game, we all thought the offense was pretty much set. You know, it was an aerial attack and everything looked wonderful. Then we get into a dogfight with Georgia, and at that point we realized that our defense is getting stronger. Sure. We're playing a veteran SEC team returning 10 starters, you know what I mean? And our offense struggles, but our defense steps up on that day. So there's always some good, behind that, that black cloud. There's a silver lining. And yesterday, the good came in the form of discovering that Brandon Wimbush has a broken field running skills of almost a Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
And he scores 4 touchdowns. Now, I agree with Mike Goolsby. You don't want him running that much, but what it gave us was, the ability to make the BC defense play honest, because in the first half they were just throwing everyone up in the box and they were just forcing Brandon to beat them with his arm. And honestly, it was a great plan. I happened to catch it on the radio in the first half, and they were just talking how the defense for BC was playing exactly the way Georgia played it, and that seemed to frustrate Brandon, but he just took to the ground, and that opened up other opportunities for, obviously, Adams and everyone else. So, there is another silver lining behind what looked like in the first half a horrible game.
Sure. And I think we were all there, man. I think we were all going, what in the world is going on here right now? It's Boston College. We hung tough with Georgia. Now we can't beat Boston College. But I want to ask you, Bill, I know how you feel personally about Brian Kelly, and I don't think we need to rehash all that. But
no. I just think that he looked scared in the first half. Like, oh my God, I looked at him and I thought I could lose my job today. And then he just let the assistant coaches make the adjustments at halftime.
Sure.
And that was the key. You saw great adjustments at halftime
on both sides of the ball.
Time in 7 years.
On both sides of the ball too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not going to beat up on Brian. I'm just going to say that I'm very impressed with the whole staff in getting these guys a young team. We do have some veterans on the offensive line, but basically a very young team. Getting together and evolving rather rapidly.
Now, do you think that this was kind of a turning corner type game? I mean, I feel personally, I think Nate and I both feel the same way about the Georgia game, that we went out there, like you said, and competed against a veteran, tough SEC team. And unlike the days of getting our doors blown off by Alabama, we hung right there. And really it came down to, let's be honest, a very questionable late hit penalty against Julian Aquara was kind of the difference in that game, if we're being honest. So.
Yeah.
Is this a turning point, do you think, or do we still have a little ways to go?
I think, in a sense, it was a personal turning point for Brian Kelly in that, as I've said, I think I played a game against him in high school. We went to rival high schools in the Catholic Conference back in Massachusetts.
And it was a very personal thing for him to go back to BC, and play in Boston. And, I just think that it's always been too tough or too close a game in his reign. And finally, he him up, and maybe he just, exercised a ghost or something,
Sure. Okay.
But that's coming from a Massachusetts standpoint, and, he's from Everett, I'm from Walpole, so.
Okay, good take. All right, Bill. Well, hey, thanks for jumping on for a minute, man. I really love having you as a friend on Facebook and all your support throughout the years, and look forward to seeing you in a few months in South Bend.
Absolutely. I'll see you then, my friend.
All right, buddy. Go Irish.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, so we're going to break there. We got a couple notes here that we wanted to talk about the game, the last few games. So first 3 weeks of the season, I'm personally very happy with what I'm seeing. I mean, I definitely was a little fired up during the first half yesterday, but the boys came out and made some adjustments, and we're good to go.
Excited the last minute of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So far, I have a few guys that I think have just been real standouts. Sean Crawford, coming back from a nasty injury last year against Nevada, has looked really, really good. He had an interception and a fumble return yesterday, so congrats to Sean Crawford. Another guy, I just mentioned him on the phone with Bill, Julian Aquara, man, he has just been getting after the quarterback. Every time he gets in the game, he's got that speed rush ability that I think we've been lacking, and I love what I see so far out of him. Leads the team in tackles so far this year and has been all around the ball. I think the off-season conditioning program really helped him out a lot, so congrats to Tavon. Defensively as a whole, I mean, you have two freshmen really who have played well in their limited roles, Kurt Heinisch and MTA. And so overall, I think the defense has really exceeded expectations. Offensively, I know it's not what we want to see. It's not the Deshaun Kaiser era of throwing the ball around everywhere. But we have a guy in Brandon Wimbush that can make plays happen better than just about any quarterback, maybe since Tony Rice. So really excited about what Brandon can do. He's going to improve in the passing game. He has a great arm. I think we got to remember, guys, he's started 3 collegiate games out at this point, 3 games. So that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid. I thought he held his own against Georgia. Obviously, didn't quite get the protection we were looking for, but he still held his own. So I'm happy with what I see overall. Josh Adams has got to be in the Heisman conversation. I mean, it may sound a little ridiculous. I know one of our good friends, Brian Buck, is definitely let's pump the brakes a little bit. And yeah, of course, I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. I'm not saying he's, top 3 or anything, but he's got to be at least in the conversation. The guy ran for 200 yards yesterday. Nate, where are you at with things?
Over 200 yards with a couple of touchdowns. But, I mean, why wouldn't he be in the Heisman talks? Because you face a team like Georgia, you struggle, okay? Well, you get 100 and so yards against Temple, and then you get 230 yards against Boston College and a tough defense. And that's not an easy thing to do. And we had over, I think it was like 400, 500 yards. So, I mean, what we need to do is we need to keep up the passing game. Wimbush, I think, just needs to settle down a little bit and let the game come to him, which he is doing with his running game.
That's right.
But he's got to pull the ball back and let it fly sometimes.
I like it. Good job. You want to talk about the defense, Nate?
The defense is 12,000 times better than it was last year. No offense to any Notre Dame player that's watching right now. But, I mean, Boston College scored 20 points. We kept Georgia to, 20. And that's a good SEC team. And, I mean, some people will say, it was against a freshman quarterback, but who cares? Brandon Wimbush is a freshman quarterback.
Yeah, he's redshirt.
Or he's a redshirt. So, my bad, but, yeah.
First-time starter either way, so you're right. You got a good point there. So a couple of key defensive stats that we wanted to talk about, and these are courtesy of, they were brought out by Irish Illustrated's Pete Sampson, but in terms of the differences in this year and last year, the scoring last year we were at 32 points per game at this point, 18.7 this year. Yards per play last year at this time, 6.0. This year, 4.6. This is a big one for me. In third down conversions last year, oh my gosh, it could be 3rd and 20, and it seemed like they'd still find a way to play prevent instead of getting aggressive and going after the quarterback. This year, third down conversions, last year was 41.7%. This year, it's 25.5%. That's almost a 50% difference, and to me, that's we had players last year that can make plays. This year, Coach Elko is putting them in a position to make those plays. They're playing aggressive. Drew Tranquil's hair has been on fire. Tavon Coney, Niles Morgan, Greer Martini, all these guys have just been lighting it up, and I'm so excited about this defense, and the offense is going to come around. There's going to be a wide receiver, I think, that'll step up and start making plays. I think it's going to be Economia St. Brown, could be Chase Claypool. Who knows? Maybe C.J. Sanders will get in there in the slot and make some plays. They've got to try something different, and I think they will. Jason Lynch just said, we have the talent, but our guys have been undercoached in the past. Absolutely. I think Elko's letting them just do what they need to do, let the athletes make the plays that they're brought in to make, getting enough pressure on the quarterback, getting into the backfield to cause that disruption, to make the quarterback have to make those quick reads. That's been crucial. We're going to be playing a Michigan State team with a fairly young but impressive quarterback thus far. This we want to get to next. Our next opponent being Michigan State. They're going to be coming off a bye, so they do have an extra week to prepare. Their first 2 games, they had a win against Bowling Green, 28-14, and then 35-10 over Bowling Green, and then they beat Western Michigan last week, 28-14. Brian Lewerke, their quarterback, he's a dual threat guy. He's got 411 passing yards through the first 2 games and 1 interception and 4 touchdowns. He's also rushed for 150 yards, so the linebackers are going to have to be on their game to make sure that he can't get out that pocket and pick up easy first downs. L.J. Scott, he's a stud running back. He's the guy, as Coach Kelly calls it, the game wrecker, in my opinion, on the offensive side of the ball. He's a heavy load to bring down, big kid. They also have a good receiver named Darrell Stewart Jr., who's made some plays this season already. He's got some decent size at 6'2". So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but defensively, I think that we're going to be okay against those guys. Offensively, I'm excited to see Brandon Wimbush get back on track. This Michigan State team doesn't have Malik McDowell anymore. They're missing some of their key stalwarts on the defense side of the ball that made them so impressive the last few years, obviously with the exception of last year's 4-8 season. So it's going to be a battle, but I really think the Irish are going to East Lansing, get that win, go back home to Miami of Ohio, and hopefully do what they need to do against them, and then bring on the USC Trojans. So it's going to be good stuff.
I was meaning to put something on USC, but USC played Texas last night, and USC's ranked 4th, and they won by 3 in double overtime against Texas. Texas.
Well, we lost to Texas last year.
Well, who cares? But they're not ranked, so it doesn't matter. But still, USC takes everybody too lightly. They think they can beat everybody. Georgia beat us last week, and then this week they played Samford.
Not Stanford.
Samford.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Anyways, all right, so we're going to move on now to an interview with a good friend of ours, Irish Illustrated recruiting analyst Kevin Sinclair. Let's go ahead and get Kevin on, Nate. Kevin Sinclair is a very talented writer. He is truly my go-to guy for any sources related to recruiting, whether it be this year, next year, current guys. The guy knows his stuff when it comes to recruiting, so I'm really pumped to have Kevin back on the show. He's been on a few times in the past. Now we're going to get him on as a member of Irish Illustrated.
Good morning, fellas.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Sort of had a late night catching up on some games last night, so
sure.
Force-feeding myself some coffee here and getting going.
Get it done, man. I mean, you're the busiest man in showbiz, man. You're constantly hitting that recruiting trail, and I like I was just mentioning on the show, you are my go-to source for all things Notre Dame recruiting, and I truly appreciate the work you're doing on Irish Illustrated.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really like my gig, of course.
Sure.
Kind of feel like I really landed on a great year to start my career as a recruiting analyst. Notre Dame's, you have to be impressed with the recruiting class so far. And also just sort of falling on an interesting year for Notre Dame with, the new coordinators, new coaching staff. Matt Balis really, bringing in a really interesting sort of work ethic and, new persona at Notre Dame. It's been a really interesting year, no doubt.
Sure. So, Kevin, talk to us a little bit about, on this young season so far, what freshmen, I mentioned a couple guys earlier, but what freshmen have you seen that you've covered have made an impact or have impressed you thus far in terms of play on the field?
Yeah, I think, most importantly, maybe not the guys that we notice as much as others possibly, but, the 2 freshman defensive tackles coming in, Myron Tagovailoa Amosa, he made a pretty key play yesterday, and he's stout in there, especially for a true freshman. Kurt Heinisch as well. Both those guys coming in, ranked 3 stars coming out of high school, but definitely showing interesting, appealing traits. Big body guys, but coming in and, not lining up at positions that are typically easy for true freshmen from a physical standpoint in the interior of the line there, coming in and playing significant snaps, and they're not getting blown off the ball. Haven't been really getting after the quarterback consistently, making big highlight reel plays by any stretch, but certainly playing stout and a couple tough guys there, and you have to like that, and it was needed. Looking at the depth, Daniel Cage having to sit out for the year. And then, of course, sort of on the offensive side of the ball, Robert Hainsey, sort of swapping with
Kramer.
Tommy Kramer, who is, a five-star prospect with some services coming out of high school. Him getting in there and showing really good, pass blocking technique. Of course, he's out of the Pittsburgh area, but played his, most of his high school ball down at IMG Academy. Definitely got some great coaching and, played a lot of, meaningful reps, obviously in practice against a bunch of five-star defensive ends. I think that all sort of bodes well for, the way he developed in high school coming in. Was a little undersized when he came, but, sort of speaking with different sources and family with Robert Hainsey, sounds like he really, really got after it in the new strength and conditioning program, got himself ready for the season, and that's shown. He was up against Landry yesterday, quite a few snaps. Of course, he lost some of those reps, but that's a potential first-round NFL draft pick. Hainsey's, like I said, true freshman. Impressive that he's won those snaps and gotten in there and done well, in my opinion. I also, we haven't seen much of him, but Cole Kmet, one of the best tight ends coming out of the country, or coming out of high school in the country last year. One particular play I saw with him against Temple, he lined up at tight end on the left side attached. It was on Dexter Williams' 60-yard run. Quick Nelson and Mike McGlinchey sort of slanted left. Cole Kmet came underneath and up through the A-gap and really sealed the defensive tackle inside. It was just a textbook, really impressive block, which led to a 60-yard carry by Dexter Williams. And I just looking at that as a true freshman in his first game of college action, it just was really impressive to see that out of him. So those are sort of the freshmen that have impressed me so far.
Okay, good deal. So it seems like this last couple months, it seems like Notre Dame was landing 4 or 5-star recruits left and right, specifically at the wide receiver position. Now, I came into this season thinking we were loaded at wide receiver, and I was kind of thinking, why do we need more depth? Why don't we go after safeties, DBs, et cetera? But now that we're kind of seeing that we need some guys to emerge, do you see one guy in that field that's kind of verbally committed to Notre Dame at this point in the 2018 class that could come in right away and make an impact?
Absolutely. Kevin Austin out of North Broward Prep in Florida. That kid is outstanding. He's we've seen him. He was rated sort of in the, I think, around the 260, 270 area probably about 6 months ago, and now he's made a boost up into the top 200. I personally think that that's a top 100 prospect. He's at around 6'3.5", just over 200 pounds, I believe now, 201, somewhere around that range. I know that Pete Sampson saw at the opening, was super impressed with him physically. That's a kid who's really getting after it in the weight room. If you get online and check out some of his highlights, they're kind of tricky to find. They're not out on Huddle yet, but that's a kid who can create separation, really explosive, and can elevate and win 50-50 balls. That's something they do with him a lot. At the high school level, I think that he's just going to continue to improve. I think that there's a really good chance that he'll end up being, Notre Dame's number one guy in the future. But we're also talking about a kid who's very, very mature, really hardworking kid from a really great family. Like it's just a really clear as day fit at Notre Dame. And I see him sort of being able to get into the fold, get on the field as a true freshman without a doubt. And you're absolutely right. Yesterday, I had my concerns with the pass game, but I didn't realize it was going to be a situation where, they're throwing for less than 100 yards, less than 50% completion percentage, and just not a lot of separation from the defensive backs out there. And that's certainly a concern. And I don't know how you fix that within any quick quick time frame. So
Sure.
definitely, yeah. I mean, that's a very valid question. Is what's Notre Dame getting at receiver, because they're going to need some help. Obviously they have Micah Jones, more of maybe a size possession type receiver, but a good receiver nonetheless. 6'5", 205 pounds, and Notre Dame's got some really dynamic receivers that they're in the hunt for and that they're in it for. Guys who, Chase Cota, rated number 37 in the country, no longer a long shot for him. Notre Dame has a legit shot for him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course. He's only booked one official visit, and it's for Notre Dame versus USC. I certainly feel good for USC ending up getting him, but that's not a gimme. He may choose Notre Dame if things go that way. Of course, his brother having not having a stellar season. A lot of people looking at that as how does that bode for Notre Dame? But he's a mature kid, and he's going to make the right choice for himself. Another guy who I think is just an outstanding receiver that they're definitely in the top group for is Lawrence Keys out of Louisiana. That kid has a special gear, probably a slot receiver at the college level. I could see him just one of those guys who can make huge plays on wheel routes.
Sorry about that. You still there? Yep, that's not good. Kevin, you still there?
No,
Okay, let's try to get him back. So you heard Kevin talking about some of the receivers. I know a lot of the big questions are Amon-Ra St. Brown out of Servite here locally in Anaheim. So he's a guy that obviously we'd all like to have, but he's looking more towards SC, leaning towards SC crystal ball, but we'll see. I think, like you said, Notre Dame's got a shot. Trying to get Kevin back on the line here.
you keep saying call ended.
Hello?
Hey, sorry about that. We lost you.
Hello?
Can you hear us? Okay, we're having all kinds of technical difficulties today, guys. I really apologize. One of the guys we were going to talk about with Kevin, hopefully he'll call back, is Jack Lamb, the number 1 rated linebacker out of California, playing at Charter Oak High School here in the Temecula area, just up the road from us. Got hurt his first year, but he's been doing pretty well since then. So really excited that he's going to be coming into the fold next year at South Bend. So I think he'll be a key part of that linebacking core moving forward. Okay, sorry, our producer's coming in to try to see if she can help with some of the technical difficulties we're having.
I called the wrong number.
No, that was him.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're going to try one more time and then we'll move on.
Hello?
Hey, Kevin, can you hear us? Kevin, can you hear us?
Hello?
Can you hear us, Kevin? Try name.
Check.
Hello?
All right, well, we're going to have to... You can't hear us, Kevin? Okay. All right, well, technical difficulties, it happens. We'll try to get Kevin back on. While we're here waiting, maybe he'll call us back, maybe we'll get it figured out. Wanted to go over the contest with you guys. We are extremely excited to announce this contest. As you'll see here, we have a...
Why does it...
It's music, buddy.
Fonzie!
Here's one little Despacito.
The black cord from his song.
We're a mess this morning. Sorry, guys. Anyways, okay. Back to the contest. So thanks to our sponsors at Legends and Goats, this guy right here. We are going to be giving away a Paul Hornung, that's right, Paul Hornung, Heisman Trophy winner, autographed helmet. Also Green Bay Packer legend. It is autographed, and it's with the inscription 56 Heisman. So that's pretty awesome. Paul Hornung autographed helmet, courtesy of Legends and Goats. And we're going to go over how you can actually win that. We'll post this on the Dose Leprechauns page. There's actually 4 chances to win. Like the fan page, Legends and Goats. You can share this podcast, so this episode of our Dose Leprechauns podcast, on your Facebook page. You can invite someone to like the Dose Leprechauns fan page, or you can share one of the original articles that James Katera and let's go ahead and put him on speaker. Put him on speaker. We'll see if we can do it the old school way.
Okay.
We'll go over the contest again in just a minute. Kevin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry about that, man.
No worries. So I was just talking about the receivers there when I dropped off. There was just one last guy I was going to discuss. Gordon Porter out of Rancho Cucamonga near you guys. That's a receiver with some elite speed, and I believe Notre Dame leads for him. Feel really confident about that. That's a guy close to putting a crystal ball pick in for, just kind of waiting to see how things go over the last few weeks. He has another visit or two lined up. So good stuff coming at receiver, I believe.
Awesome. No, that's exciting. I mean, so the last question I have for you, I know you're a busy guy, but just wanted to ask you, just for our viewers here. So who are the top 3 wish list guys that have Indy on their list that you hope to land? Like if you could have any top 3 guys that you're following that are kind of, considering Notre Dame, maybe they made some officials, maybe they have some lined up that you would love to get.
Yeah, guys I think that Notre Dame would really like to get, if I had to sort of name 3 to finish out their class, shooting for about 9 more scholarships. I think addressing, getting a key guy along the offensive line would be really good for them. Nick Petit-Frere, I think, is that top guy out of Berkeley Prep in Florida. In my opinion, he's a 5-star offensive tackle. He also, is really, really stout on the defensive line, but he sort of lists as an offensive tackle, and I believe he'd be, an outstanding guy. I sort of compare him to Ronnie Stanley. He's one of those guys who plays power forward in basketball as well. So he has those really elite feet, really physical. There's nothing that I dislike about his game. I'm very confident he's going to be an excellent offensive tackle at the college level. I think another guy I'd really like to see Notre Dame get would be Julius Ervin out of California, out of Servite programs Notre Dame certainly knows well.
Yep.
He listed around 6'2", 185-ish. He's a kid who really wants to get a crack at cornerback. And, these days, 6'2" cornerbacks you can cover are sort of worth their weight in gold. Of course, I think they're more looking at him at the safety position, but I really like the idea of, maybe Julius Ervin and Derek Allen joining Isaiah Robertson and other talent they have back there, shoring up sort of that safety group, really sort of young back there at the moment. I think that he would be a really good get. And if he ends up, at cornerback, of course, Notre Dame didn't land cornerbacks last class, don't have any in this class. Needing to get some difference maker. If he ended up being a cornerback, that would be, just as good for the Irish. Weak side defensive end. I kind of have that's where Notre Dame really needs to add another guy. Jason Owa and Joseph Osai, definitely both looking like big time long shots at this time. Sorry. So I think I would kick over to the other side of the defensive end, the defensive line, at strong side defensive end. Thomas Booker is a guy I think would be really great at Notre Dame. He's just as good of a fit for the university and the football program as you'll find in this class. His top 5 or 3 Ivy League schools, including Harvard, and then Notre Dame and Stanford. So you know where his priorities are. 6'5", 290 pounds, and we're talking about a kid who's athletic enough to play tight end in high school and catch passes.
Unreal.
I think he would be an amazing get for Notre Dame. So sort of off the top of my head, Petit-Frere, Julius Ervin, Thomas Booker, those are 3 I think that would really elevate the class.
How about Ovi? Is he still locked in?
Ovi Agufo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still locked in. I actually spoke with him yesterday. He had a huge game on Friday, 90-yard kick return for a touchdown off the opening kickoff. With Ovi, he's an interesting prospect. He's a kid who plays really well at outside linebacker, but it's playing Mike linebacker this year for his program just to get him in there, make more plays. Also plays free safety. He's really great in coverage. That's sort of like the niche of his game, I would say, is his pass coverage from the linebacker position. Plays tight ends, probably their best receiver on offense. And just a really great kid. He has a really great sense of humor. He's a really fun guy to be around. I think he's going to be a big locker room guy for Notre Dame, and a guy with some position flexibility, and we all know how important that is.
Awesome. Okay. Last real quick question is, have you heard much about how Jack Lamb is doing at Temecula in terms of his, I know he got hurt his first game. Where's he at now? Have you been following his progress thus far this season?
Yeah, I have. I've actually gotten to know the Lambs really well, and Jack suffered an injury, of course, and that's something that, raised some eyebrows when it occurred. But in terms of, in terms of knee injuries in general, he had about, the the best news, I guess you could say, in terms of the results from all the tests and all that sort of thing. And it's more of just a badly sort of bruised joint to his knee. No ligament damage, anything like that. We saw he was at the Georgia game at Notre Dame. He wasn't, on crutches or anything like that. It's more of just soreness, I believe. He's rehabbing it. I think it was just over 2 weeks ago, he had the initial tests done on it, and they said they were just going to have a look at it in 6 weeks, and he may return for this season, but he's not going to push it unless he's, 110% ready to go. He won't return this season and put himself in any type of risk. So will be an early enrollee at Notre Dame, and I expect him to be 100% healthy.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. All right, Kevin, can you let people know where they can get your recruiting coverage at and how they can stay in contact with you?
Yeah, you bet. So, IrishIllustrated.com. I'm the lead recruiting analyst there. You can find me on Twitter at FightingIrishK1. Plenty going on right now. Notre Dame, of course, on the road again this week coming up. Weekend after that, they'll be hosting Miami of Ohio, so we'll have some visitors and official visitors. One of the top 2019 prospects, Litchfield Adjavon, will be visiting Notre Dame for the Miami of Ohio game, and of course USC coming up October 21st. A whole slew of top visitors for that game. So plenty going on all the time. About 9 scholarships to fill up. 2019 classes getting a little bit more exciting to follow as well. So check us out.
Very cool. All right, Kevin. Hey, thank you so much for the time. I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate all the support. And we'll talk to you later.
No, anytime, guys. Great show. Have a good day.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
All right, so before we got Kevin back on, we were talking about the contest. Once again, this Paul Horning autographed mini helmet can be yours, again, courtesy of Legends and Goats. So I'm going to review again how you can, hold that up please, Nate. I'm going to review again how you can make yourself eligible. In addition to the helmet, our other sponsor, sportscrack.com, they have all kinds of really cool apparel, merchandise. I think they still have the Play Like a Champion Today game footballs you can get. But in order to win this helmet and a Josh Adams Sports Crack t-shirt that just came out, it says 33 Gazelle on it, like the fan page Legends and Goats, share this podcast on your personal page, meaning this Dose Leprechauns podcast, invite someone to like the Dose Leprechauns fan page, that could even be yourself, and or share one of the original articles that we release on the Dose Leprechauns fan page every Tuesday throughout the week by James Katera and Jason Pruitt. So again, lots of opportunities to win there. Any one of those options will enter you into the prize. If you do all 4, you'll have 4 chances to win. We have Jason Pruitt from our Dose Leprechauns admin team tracking all of this, so he's going to put everybody's name that did that into a randomizer. If you do more than one of the shares, you'll have more chances to win through the randomizer. And good luck to you guys. I really want to make sure this goes to a good Irish supporter. So Legends and Goats has actually sent us 3 prizes, this being one of them, 2 additional ones that will be given away in the next 2 shows. And then we also have Kathleen Kiefer, who's a wonderful artist that did some original pieces for Notre Dame. She gave us a couple of original prints we're going to be giving out in a few weeks also, and then we're going to have her come on and talk a little bit about those. So lots of great opportunities to win by just following us and helping us spread our word about what we're doing and everything. So please, again, like the fan page, Legends and Goats, share this podcast on your personal page, invite someone to like the Dose Leprechauns fan page, and or share one of the original articles released Tuesday from the Dose Leprechauns fan page. Let's see. So we have one more quick caller on, and it's one of our current admin. Go ahead and get George on. We'll do it the same way. George Bashura, who's one of our Dose Leprechauns admin, also is her Loyal Sons writer. Overall, great Notre Dame fan. Let me turn this around. I think it might have gone the other way. So he's going to come on and talk about a new book he's going to be writing that'll give Notre Dame fans a chance to participate. He's got a pretty cool ringback to him, too.
Hello?
Hey, good morning, George. It's Jason and Nate, Dose Leprechauns. How are you?
Hey, Jason. Hey, Leprechaun Man. I'm doing great. It's a great day to be an Irish fan.
That's right. Every day is a great day to be an Irish fan. But yeah, definitely. Good win yesterday. Hey, so George, we've been telling our listeners a little bit about something exciting you have coming up, and that is that you have decided you're going to get into the book writing world and you're going to write a book. Can you give the audience a little bit of an idea of what you have going on?
Sure. So, it's kind of an interesting approach. You have Lisa Kelly's books of the Men We Became series, and that how it correlates the the journey for the players through their years at Notre Dame to, their career and then their post-career. And I was thinking and talking to Lisa, I said, there's nothing out there that talks about the fan and the fan going to Notre Dame for the first time. We all have that experience who have been there of it's the moment that you just feel totally connected with the university. So after talking with Lisa and about some guidance, who's actually going to help me write the book. Thank you, Lisa Kelly, in advance for doing that. I'm kicking off today the collection of stories from fans that who have made the journey to Notre Dame and what that experience was like.
Awesome. So it's going to be kind of written in the same breath as the Men We Became book, is that correct?
Yes, it's going to be based upon the fan experience. Okay,
awesome. All right, George, tell everybody how they can get those stories to you so they're your first-time journey to Notre Dame.
Excellent. My email address I've actually set up for the book is subwaydomer18@gmail.com.
Say that one more time.
subwaydomer18@gmail.com.
Got it. Okay, great. I'll put that in the feed right now so everybody can start. So again, send those in to George. He's got some great stories, or he's going to share some great stories. When do you anticipate maybe this book being available for people to purchase?
Well, it's really going to be, based upon how quick the stories come in. It's based upon the collection of, the fan stories. I would hopefully to get it out for maybe next season. That would be great. And the purpose really behind the book, too, is we all have a story that we don't want to forget, and we're trying to figure out a way to, immortalize it. And I know that my story is great. Just my journey getting to Notre Dame and getting to my first game and being on campus. And I'm sure that there's other folks out there that have the same thing, and this is a way for them to capture their moment and have it in a book.
Awesome. I love the premise, man. I think that's going to be great. I can't wait to send my story in, and then we'll kind of do a counterpiece to that to when Nate got to go for the first time, because we've been so blessed with our journey to Notre Dame. Each time it gets better and better. So super excited to share my story, Nate's story, and then I'm sure you're going to get some really amazing first-time stories from some of our viewers.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah, man, that's good. I'm really happy you're doing this, and happy to have you as part of the Dos Leprechauns team. We just wanted to check in with you real quick once again. If you want to send your story in to George Bashura, email him at subwaydomer18@gmail.com. And again, that's your first time, your first experience at the Holy Land in South Bend, Indiana. Your first time at Notre Dame Stadium. What were some of the cool things you got to do? Some of the great people you've met. I've met some of my best friends through Notre Dame now, as crazy as that sounds. So it's just been such a blessed experience. It's really awesome. So thanks for letting us do this, George, and we'll catch up with you soon, man.
No, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity, Jason. And once again, it's an opportunity. We all want that story saved, and we forget the details, and now's that opportunity to get that story saved.
Yes, sir. All right, George, you have a great rest of your day, man. Go Irish, and we'll talk to you soon.
Go Irish, and thank you very much.
Have a good one.
You too, thank you.
All right, so we're about to wrap up this episode of Dos Leprechauns. Again, this helmet, the Paul Hornung autographed mini helmet, can be yours, along with the Josh Adams Sports Crack shirt. Thank you to our sponsor, Sports Crack, Legends and Goats, TNNDN, and then, of course, Golden Dormer Daily. Ben Belden and his crew have been taking the Facebook Live format and then merging it so that we can make it on YouTube and iTunes. So you can also now follow us on YouTube and iTunes. So if you didn't catch it,
on YouTube.
Please subscribe on YouTube. We got to get our subscribers up there. But again, to win the contest, the Paul Hornung autograph helmet and the Sports Crack T-shirt, you will like the fan page, Legends and Goats. Share this podcast on your page. Invite someone to like the Dos Leprechauns page. If you're not already somebody that likes the page, that can include you. That'll enter you into the drawing as well. And or share one of the original articles that we released from Jason Pruitt and James Katera. Those are your 4 chances to win. If you do all 4 things, you'll have 4 chances to win. So we really want to encourage you guys to do that. Increase your chances to win. It'll be a completely random drawing that Jason Pruitt's going to track and put into a randomizer, and we'll announce that on Wednesday evening on Dos Leprechauns live at about 6 p.m. Pacific time. So again, we'll announce that this coming Wednesday, the 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Before we sign off, I want to let you guys know about a new partnership that we just established. Super excited about it. It's a new partnership that we have that's going to really increase our views on the articles that Jason Pruitt and James Katera have been doing. They do some amazing original pieces, some wrap-ups. They're very famous for the what to expect when we're expecting against each additional opponent. So our partnership now is with Indiana Sports Coverage. You can follow them at Indy Coverage on Twitter. They also have a website, indianasportscoverage.com. We'll leave the link for that so you guys can go directly to that when you're done here. Great pieces. They cover all things Indiana sports, Pacers, Colts, IU, Purdue. And then the Dos Leprechauns, our writer, myself, Nate, will now be the official reporters for the Notre Dame piece of the Indiana Sports Coverage site. So we'll be doing some stuff on their Twitter. We'll be doing articles on their page there, indianasportscoverage.com. Really excited for Jason and James to get that opportunity because their writing needs to be watched or read. It's really good stuff. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Please make sure you enter the contest, like our page, share this podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. We're going to be back in 2 weeks. We'll be recapping the Miami of Ohio game, the Michigan State game, and going from there. So it's going to be a good couple weeks coming up. Excited about the direction Team 129 is going in. Shout out to Craig Nelson for always supporting us. Thank you to all of our supporters and our sponsors. Nate, you got anything?
Nope.
Okay. Until next time, go Irish.